What starts as a promising tool to fulfill his dreams quickly turns into a nightmare. The pen demands blood in exchange for success, dragging Ken into a horrifying spiral of sacrifices and dark magic. Will Ken find a way to break free? Or is he doomed to be consumed by the darkness? The Sinister Magical Fountain Pen, Male Student Chap 3. During this time, Sen overheard neighbors talking about the house they lived in while she was at work. The neighbors spoke about the previous owners of the house, all of whom had mysteriously disappeared. Rumors about the house's strangeness spread through the area, amplifying Sen's sense of fear and confusion. Sen rushed home with her heart pounding, her body filled with anxiety and fear. But when she entered the house, the sight before her made her heart stop. Her son, Ken, sat in the darkness, his eyes filled with a demonic gleam. She approached him, wanting to ask about his condition. But before she could say anything, she saw him holding the pen and stabbing his hand with it. Horror spread through Sen's body as she saw the terrifying smile on her son's face. The pen glowed with a faint light, creating a horrifying picture of cruelty and madness. "Ken, are you crazy?" Sen screamed, unable to believe what she was seeing. But Ken just laughed, a terrifying and eerie laugh, his eyes filled with malevolence, driven by the strange power of the pen in his hand. Sen's heart pounded with confusion and fear. She couldn't understand what was happening to her son and felt powerless. Before she could say anything else, she suddenly saw her son smile wickedly, raising the pen. In that moment, she felt herself losing consciousness and fainted on the spot. A few days later, Hoa, worried about Ken not attending school for several days, decided to visit him. When she reached his address, she knocked, but no one answered. She was about to leave when the door suddenly opened before her. She stepped inside with worry and curiosity, unsure of what she would encounter. Inside, the eerie silence and darkness made her feel uneasy. She called out for her friend, but no sound answered. Just then, she heard a strange noise from the attic, causing her to feel both terrified and curious. She climbed up, each step increasing her anxiety. In the dark attic, she moved towards the window, intending to open it for some light. However, she discovered that the window wouldn't budge, making the space even gloomier. Standing in the attic, she looked out into the garden and was shocked to see a hole that someone had dug. On the ground were red streaks like dried blood, evoking horror and fear within her. Hoa was startled and confused, unsure of what to do next. Suddenly, a soft noise came from the corner of the room, making her turn around. The dim light revealed Ken standing there with a strange and eerie look. She looked down at his feet and couldn't believe what she saw. Two corpses drained of blood, lying cold and lifeless. A terrifying sensation ran down her spine, something she had never experienced before. She couldn't move, her body paralyzed with fear and helplessness. The two bodies at Ken's feet were the most horrifying sight she had ever seen. Their skin was withered, creating a deathly and gloomy appearance. Their eyes were cloudy, like two dark clouds without sight. Inside, their bodies were emaciated and decaying, like something out of a horror movie. Dried blood had clotted on their skin, evoking a ghastly sense of death and gloom. All the signs of death made the space even more terrifying and haunting, spreading a sense of horror in the dark room. Hoa realized that the corpses were Ken's mother and Lucky, the dog he had once proudly shown her. At this moment, Ken's eyes were full of cruelty and malice, making her feel as if she were facing a dark and inescapable force. Her heart pounded in her chest, her breathing quickened. She couldn't believe the presence of the corpses and Ken's horrific actions. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. She could only stand there, staring at the terrifying scene before her. As Ken grinned wickedly, Hoa began to realize the horrifying truth. The person before her was not Ken. It was a terrifying entity, an evil spirit lurking within his body. Fear and despair spread through her body, making her scream. But as she screamed and tried to escape the haunted house, Ken suddenly moved swiftly and stood at the door, holding the pen up towards her. She couldn't believe what was happening, but the truth before her was undeniable. "You came just in time." Ken's voice turned vicious and sinister. "I was just looking for you." Hoa's mind became foggy, feeling like she was sinking into a nightmare. She saw the pen in Ken's hand glowing with a cold and eerie light, making her heart pound in her chest, feeling trapped in a dark pit of despair. She couldn't move, her body paralyzed with fear and helplessness, watching as Ken approached her with the pen. And the last bit of light in the attic flickered out, leaving an atmosphere of gloom and horror.